Turning a young boy to a man. This is a story of a boy who bought diapers for several weeks. The police noticed him and followed him home. Many parents believe that kids should help out around the house. From dyeing dishes to running errands, even chores taught by their parents, especially in life and skills. When Officer Jones first spotted a young boy buying Pampers every day, he assumed that he was just helping his moms out. However, as time went by, it was obvious that the police officer realized something was wrong. He had no idea that he was about to uncover a situation that would change his life forever. Meet Officer Brown. Darius Jones was born and raised in Oakland, California. He grew up in a poor neighborhood and watched his community be terrified by violence and crimes. He decided at a young age that he will go and stand and be and let the community continue to be safe. Darius enrolled in the police academy as soon as he turned 18. Now he was 37 years old and qualified as a police detective with the Oklahoma Police Department. Over the years, he worked on plenty of important cases, but none has impacted him as much as what he was about to encounter. Darius dedicated himself to his work. He did not have a partner or a family and worked long hours and overtime. He saw himself just as an enforcer of the law, but a protector of the community and a trust figure in his city. He wanted to be someone's people to go to when they were scared of others. The devoted officer, hard work has paid off. Many times was a true pillar of the community. He knew everyone in the local neighborhoods by names, and they respected and trusted him. But he didn't realize he was about to stumble on something under his very nose that threatens the foundation of the society he was working so hard to protect. Although he was now a detective, Darius still liked to walk his usual beats every day so that he could keep up with the going on in the neighborhood. Over the last few weeks, he had noticed something. Every day at the same time, he noticed a young boy dressed in dirty clothes heading to the convenience store at a time when he should have been in school. He wondered if the boy simply was skipping school, but something in his gut told him something else was going on. He needed to investigate furthermore. One day, Darius followed the boy into the convenience store just to keep an eye on him. He assumed he was just buying candy or comic books. But with a determined look in his eyes, the boy headed straight for the baby section. He picked out the cheapest pack of diapers and some baby formula and headed to the checkout line. The cashier smiled at him as if she knew him. He paid with a pile of small change, counting out pennies and dimes, scratching the items off the checklist desk, and headed out. Perhaps he was just waiting out for his moms, but Officer Jones wanted to be sure. He made sure to be at the same convenience store for the next few days, and like clockwork, the boy appeared and brought another small pack of diapers. Close up, Darius can see that he was very unkempt and he looked exhausted. His hair was matted down and there was a dark circle under his eyes. Even though he was skinny as could be, Darius never saw him buy any food for himself, just baby formulas. After the boy made his purchase, he would quickly leave with his head down, not looking at anyone in the store. Apart anything else, he clearly needed to be in school. Someone needed to intervene. That day, Darius decided he needed to find out a little more about the boy who bought the diapers. As he had left the store, Darius headed up to the checkout counter. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm Detective Darius Jones, and I have a few questions for you. Could you tell me a little more about that kid? And who was he just in here with? I'm a little concerned about him," he said to the cashier. She replied that all she knew was his name was Little Tommy, and he has been coming in here every day for the last few months, buying diapers and leaving. He also paid in small change, she said. She didn't know anything else. Darius knew he was going to have to speak to Little Tommy. The next day, Darius stopped Tommy as he left the store. "Hey, little buddy, I'm a police officer in the neighborhood, and I just want to have a little chat with you," he said. The boy looked terrified. "Sir, I haven't done anything, honestly," he squeaked. "I'm just buying diapers for the baby, and now I need to get home. I never took anything from the store, officer." Tommy continued. No. One is accusing you of anything," replied Darius in a squeaky voice. "I'm just wanted to find out," but the boy had already started running away. As far as he could, Darius looked after him, feeling worried he would have to follow him. Keeping a good distance behind them, Darius followed Tommy. The young boy walked purposely towards the most ran-down area of the neighborhood. Darius has been called to this area countless times, and he knew that some very dangerous stuff went down around here. He didn't like to think of the child being exposed to such things. Tommy turned around a few times during the walk, his eyes darting around. Darius could tell that he was a vicious kid, always watching his back. He wondered what was going on in his life to make him feel so worried. It could not be anything good. Darius trailed Tommy until he turned into an old abandoned looking house. The paint was peeling and several of the windows were smashed. It could not fit the situation, but the young boy scratched up to the path and unlocked the front door. Glazing behind him, he slipped into the house, slamming the door behind him, and all the curtains was drawn. Darius heard a sound of a baby screaming. That was it. He needed to go inside and check that everyone was around to take care of this child. However, what he found inside made his blood run cold. Guys, this is a story of a community when everyone needs to get together. Protect these kids by any means necessary. We don't know what happened, but we're going to get back to the story. to see what happened after this. After a moment, Darius walked up to the front path and knocked on the door. No one answered. He waited for a beat and a knock again. He heard scratching feet and Tommy opened the door. "What do you want?" he whispered. "Hey, Tommy, would it be okay if I come in for a moment? I just want to check everything and make sure everything is okay," the officer said. Tommy and then slid the door open, just wide enough for Darius to squeeze through. He looked terrified, his eyes huge in his pale face. Darius smiled rapidly, but he could tell something was wrong. I mean, very wrong. Inside the house was as ran down as the outside. There was hardly any furniture, and the floors was rusty. There was trash overflowing with dirty napkins, and the smell was overwhelming. Tommy led Darius through the dark, stuffy room and to a bedroom where a woman was feeding a baby. "This is my mom, Kayla, and my baby brother Sammy," said Tommy. Kayla looked up in shock. "Tommy, who's this? Why is there a policeman here?" "What have you done, son?" she asked anxiously. Darius sat down on the rusty couch and introduced himself and explained why he was there. She looked a little upset, but still afraid, biting her nails and glazing at the window. Darius asked her questions, trying to find out about the family situation. "It's been tough since Tommy's dad died," she said. Her voice was crackling. "I'm doing my best for the kids, but there's no money left. I lost my job a few months ago after the baby was born. I could not juggle anything, and now," she trailed off, tears running down her cheeks. "And now," Darius promptly. But she just shook her head. He was determined to get to the bottom of things. They all sat in the dusty bedroom. A little longer, Darius gently asked Kayla and Tommy more about their lives. He learned that Sammy had a condition that meant he went through double the diapers of an average 6-month-old baby. That's why Tommy was forever buying diapers. He wasn't going to school because Kayla couldn't afford to pay for books, travels, and uniforms. Darius kept probing, but both mom and son was encouraged in their reply to him, obviously keeping something hidden. He had no idea how big of a situation they was riding. Darius gave Kayla his card and said she could call him if she needed anything. He told them he would need to get a social worker involved to get Tommy back in school. Kayla looked terrified at a prospect of more involvements from the authorities. Darius knew there was a lot of people who did not trust the authorities, but this seems different. As he laid in the bed that night, he could not shake the feeling of Kayla and Tommy was concealing something dangerous. Every time he closed his eyes, there they go, haunting his face, warming to his mind. He decided he would go back tomorrow. The next day, Darius waited by the convenience store to meet Tommy, but he did not show. He hoped the little boy was just running late, but about after 15 minutes, he decided something must be wrong. He walked toward the house, praying he wasn't too late. Whatever was keeping Tommy at the house couldn't be good. Darius hoped he hadn't made things worse by turning up at the house the day before. He quickly hissed his piece. When he arrived and saw Tommy could not come out, he realized the family was in deeper trouble than he could have ever imagined. It wasn't Tommy or Kayla who opened the door, but a man. He had a shaved head and tattoos on his neck and a threatening look on his face. "What do you want?" He smirked at Darius. "I'm Officer Darius Jones with the Oklahoma Police Department, and I'm just here to check on Kayla and Tommy," he said firmly and made the step past the man. He stood out his arm and blocked the way. "Kayla and the kids are just fine. I make sure of that. Now why don't you just stop snooping around where you're not needed and leave us alone?" the man replied. Kayla appeared behind him and said quickly, "Yes, officer, everything is fine. Please leave us alone." There was nothing Darius can do. If Kayla wasn't in cooperation, he had not actually witnessed any suspicious activities. Then he had to leave. But he knew this man was bad news. He recognized him from the files back at the station. He was a dangerous character. The police had never been able to pin anything on him though. Darius could tell that he held some power over Kayla and his family and her family. He had seen them peering through one of the windows as he walked away from the house. They needed him, and he wasn't going to let them down. Darius spent a sleepless night tossing and turning. Finally, he got up and headed to the station where the night shift was in full swing. He logged into the computer and did a deep dive into the man's file. Every time the police has came near to discover what he was up to and catching him in the act, he would slip through their fingers. However, what little information there was made Darius feel sick to his stomach. He hated to think the various women and child being anywhere near this man, and he was determined to put him away. As soon as the morning came, Darius headed back to the house. This time, he drove in his cruiser, and he told the partner where he was going. He wanted to be ready if the man tried anything. He rapped shortly on the door. No one answered. Darius knocked again and heard movements from inside. Someone was coming to the door. Darius' heart pounded in his chest. He was about to make the biggest catch of his career, and the door flew open. It wasn't a man, it was Kayla. Her face was buried and swollen. Tommy was standing behind her, clutching the baby. She ushered Darius in quickly and slammed the door. Back again, are you? What do you want from us? He think I got the police involved. Now we all are in trouble. You're putting my kids at risk. She just leave us alone. Please just leave us alone, she shouted. And then breaking down sobbing. Darius handed her a tissue and said, Kayla, listen to me. I'm not trying to make anything worse. I'm just trying to help you. If you would just explain the situation to me, then we can help. I can protect you and your family. Just tell me what's going on. Who is that man? And what do he have over you? Kayla took a deep breath. Okay. She said, and she began to explain. It turned out that Sammy's dad was killed in a turf war between two rival gangs. He's been accused of being a terrorist by his own gang and passing information to the other side. Really? He just been disinsynced. He's never meant to act as a spy, but they haven't been very understanding. Now Kayla and her family was paying for his mistakes. They have been offered protection, but it came with a price. The man that Darius seen there the day before was the leader of Kayla's boyfriend old gang. The Oklahoma Police Department had known he was involved in gang activities, but they had no idea he was the head. He dropped by unannounced a few times a week to check in on Kayla, and what little money she had went towards paying him for the protection. Since she lost her job, he forced her to pay in other ways. Not only was Karen being extorted, but he was using the family house as a gang property. Their house was being used to store illegal substance and arms, as well as hideouts for gang members who were laying low. Now that Kayla had spilled her secret, Darius could see that she was in deep trouble. There was no way that the gang would let this go unpunishable. He knew what they did to snitches. The officer vowed he would never let her come in harm's way. Darius drove Kayla, Tommy, and Sammy to the station where they would be safe for the time being. Then he headed back to the neighborhood to question the local people about the gang activities. It doesn't take long for Darius to realize just how much power they had. The people he spoke to clearly knew a lot more than they was letting him know. But no one wanted to give him anything, any information at all. They were terrified. Then there were Tommy and Sammy. Darius didn't want anything to separate them from their mothers. She had found herself in desperate situations, but she was clearly doing her best to take care of her kids and love them more than anything. Even still, they could not stay in this situation, and social service needed to be involved. The house was dangerous, and Darius knew it. It was only a matter of time before the kids got hurt. He needed to do everything in his power to make sure that never happens. The same day, Darius brought the case to his team and they worked long and hard on how to find a way to get the gang members off the street without complicating Kayla. She couldn't press any charges or act as a witness, or they would find a way to get her. They had to find another way to catch them. They knew exactly who they were looking for now. In the meanwhile, they needed to find a way to help Kayla and her kids. Poverty, violence, mental health, struggle could be dealt with overnight. They needed work to do. Darius believed in the power of the community. He made contact with local charities, grassroots organizations, and social services in search of resources and supplies that would be useful for Kayla. The neighborhood band together to help her, organizing foundation and collecting donations for all the local families in need. One kind neighbor even opened a stall with second-hand school books and clothing. Anyone who cannot pay could just take what they needed. Things was looking up, but the street still wasn't safe. Meanwhile, Darius was headed to the task force to try to bring gang activities into the neighborhood under control. They set up anonymous tips and offered deals for anyone who can offer them information on the leaders. That was, Kayla was protected and suspicious. New leaders appeared almost daily. It was clear that there was plenty of people involved who were searching for a way out, but even Darius could have foreseen what he was about to uncover. It turned out that the Oakland gang had connections to an organized crime linked with all over the country and beyond, from racketeering to ties with the cartels. This went deeper than anyone could have ever predicted. Protect your community at all times, people. If you see gang violence or anything, if you see someone being bullied, protect the community at all times. The gang leader was extorting Kayla, was just one of the tiny logs in a huge web of criminals' activities. Darius investigated undercover information that the authorities has been seeking for years. Darius made sure that the gang leader knew nothing of Kayla's involvement, which he gathered as much intel as he could. Finally, the case was watertight, and the police could start bringing people to justice. The sting operation was successful, and the gang leader and his associates was arrested. In the courtroom scene, they were found guilty of their heinous crimes, ending their reigns of terror over the neighborhood. The community roared together, standing strong against the force that had plagued them. With the gang member behind bars, a sense of relief and renewed swept through the streets. Kayla, Tommy, and Sammy was finally free from danger, and the neighborhood began to heal. With the streets finally out of gang control, Kayla could begin to feel safe again. she was able to move into a new subsidized apartment and leave the run-down old house behind. With the help of the local healthcare charity, Sammy was able to get treatment he needed for his conditions, meaning Tommy could make a few steps himself to the convenience store without the help of the neighbors. He was able to go back to school. Kayla felt like she had a new lease on life. She and her kids were safe, and they never had to pay for protection again. But it wasn't just a few beginnings for Kayla. The case made Darius realize the importance of family and community, and he decided it was time for him to build a life outside of work. He still worked long hours, but he took time out for himself now, and he wanted to start his own family. When Darius Jones saw a young man buying diapers at that time each day, he had no idea it was going to lead to a dangerous family with the connections of one of the most feared crimes in the country. We wish Kayla and her kids nothing but the best, and we hope Darius finds what he's looking for, a partner who shares his passion for peace building, justice, and unity. So guys, that's the story of the day. Once again, here at the OG Time Podcast. I want to say thank you for listening to my show. And as we speak, once again, peace and love, and we are out.